J.P. Morgan Chase, 40 other banks conducted FedNow trial runs ahead of the instant payment service launch. The banking giant J.P. Morgan Chase, 40 other banks, U.S. banks, tested the Federal Reserve new instant payment infrastructure, FedNow. According to the Federal Service press release, 41 banks and 15 service providers are wrapping up the FedNow test trials ahead of the official launch of the service, which is scheduled late July. So this month, late July. Ken Montgomery, the first Vice President of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston FedNow program executive. We are on track for the FedNow service launch with the strong cohorts of financial institutions and services providers of all sizes in the process of completing final round of readiness test with go live nearing financial institutions in their industrial partnership. Be confident moving forward with the plans to join the network organization participate in the FedNow service. According to the Federal Reserve, the FedNow service aims to enable businesses, individuals to send and receive instant payments anytime. The Federal Reserve says it plans to increase the number of the banks using FedNow this year and years to come until all 10,000 have adopted the technology. Other banks tested the service to start using it in July include Bank of New York Mellon, U.S. Bancorp, Wells Fargo. U.S. Department of Treasury is also intended to use the service. Service provides running final tests include Jupiter Payments, Jack Henry, and Open Payment Networks. Okay, let me see. That report is Daily Hodl. Daily Hodl. DailyHodl.com. We got various other reports here: CNN, Bankrate, Forbes, NPR, which is News Press Review, and Detroit News, Yahoo Finance. These are all different organizations. New York Times, relating to that. Let me see. Will Chase be using the FedNow? Let me say this. J.P. Morgan Chase and 4 other U.S. banks conducting the FedNow trial was ahead of the instant payment services launch. Read that on that report. Will banks use the FedNow? First Bank Yuma, which is in Arizona. First Source Bank, Aiden, Aloya, Corporate Federal Credit Union, Atlantic Community, Bankers Bank, Aviata Bank, Bankers Bank of the West, BNY Mellon Bank, which is Bank of New York, Mellon Bank. What other one? That's just a few of them. What are the benefits of the FedNow? Largest unique benefits of the FedNow in particular is the integration of the Federal Reserve larger network. Unlike RTP, FedNow will support smaller community banks around the country. So FedNow is likely to be most helpful to local financial institutions and their account holders. For example, will FedNow replace like PayPal and different things? Does FedNow replace money apps like Venmo, Cash App? Fed has made clear that the FedNow is not intended to kill the KIL or eliminate or replace other money transfer options like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, but rather is meant to work alongside the current system built by the private sector, so it says. So basically, it's going to complement what is already there, so-called, and maybe even accentuate or enhance it, as they would say. What is the FedNow dollar amount? What is the FedNow? The maximum amount of the FedNow credit transfers will be $100,000. Financial institutions can lower or raise their credit transfer limit to $500,000. The Federal Reserve will evaluate the credit transfer limit on an ongoing basis and adjust as appropriate. To that, a few other let me see. Scripture talks about be not ignorant of anything great or small. Sirach 5:15. Scripture talks about Proverbs 22:5 talk about the rich, the poor is servant to the. Let me get it. Here we go. The rich ruleth over the poor, and a borrower is a servant to the lender. Shalom. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. So the rich ruleth over the poor, man. So, because they're in a position of power, man. You know, so. And a borrower is a servant to what? The lender. A servant goes to what? A slave, servant, serf. Then you have scripture talks about in what's it, Proverbs 18, I believe. Let me see. The poor uses entreaties, but the rich answer roughly. Paraphrasing, but I'll get it. So review. So the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is a servant of the lender. So poor has to go to the rich, man. You know, because they're in a position of power. Proverbs 18 and 22. Let's see if that's the one. Yeah, 18 and 23. Proverbs 18 and 23. The poor uses entreaties, but the rich answer roughly. Uses entreaties, so pretty much the poor has to beg, man. They have to beseech, beg, grovel to what? The ones in power, man, because the rich are in a position of power. They're in a position of power. But the rich answer roughly, but they answer roughly. Rudely. Rough goes to being rude, disrespectful, derogatory, so they don't have to have no respect, or they don't have to be respectful or polite or courteous to the poor, man, because the rich are in a position of power. The poor has to go to them, and the rich know that, so they know the poor needs them. So the earth has been given to the hands of who? The wicked. The wicked are the ones in a position of power, man. We'll get number 11. A rich man's wealth is a strong city. So the wealth, his possessions, his wealth, what comes with that, the money, different things, that's a strong city. That's just pretty much his foundation, his form of a fortress and protection. In as a high wall in his own conceit. Ultimately, pride before destruction, a haughty spirit before fall. Proverbs 16 and 18. So that money is a false sense of confidence. Right? It's a false sense of security, even protection. Scripture talk about riches profit not in the day of wrath. So your riches, money, is not going to protect you in that day, man. So the money, the rich man. So that rich man's strong city is his wealth. His possession is his wealth. But that's not going to protect him, like I said in the scripture. I want to get Revelations real quick. Scripture talks about we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Ignorant goes to, in general, not being ignorant in general. Just like I read in Sirach 5 and 15. Be not ignorant anything great or small. So be not ignorant in general, overall, whether great or small. That's on Sirach 5 and 15. Revelations 13 and 13 chapter. 13:11. And beheld another beast come up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. The two horns represents two opposites in manner, but they work on that same horn, which is that same beast, man. But they play their parts oppositionally, sometimes by design, man. For example, that would be the Democratic and Republicans, man. So he spake as a lamb, pretty much innocent, non-threatening. You know what I mean? But so the two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So he can't. So he's like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon, used more authority, exercising more authority, more draconic type measures, man, while having the appearance of being non-threatening, such as a lamb, man. And he exercise means to pretty much implementation, man, to do, man. And he exercised all the power of the first beast into him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Because after a certain time, that wound was healed, and that power is passed on to that second beast, where it can exercise that greater authority, man. So that's why it's going to come with a more draconic measure, man. Number 13. And he doeth great wonders, and maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in sight of men. So that's part of that deception. That's part of that deceivement, man. You know what I mean? For as far as deceiving the people, man, showing them great miracles and great wonders and power, man, which ultimately is going to dumb down the people to believe certain things, man. It's to fool. It's to beguile them. And he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. And that's part of the witchcraft and sorcery too, the miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, and say to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to worship. What's an idol? Which he had wound, the wound by the sword, and did live. 16. And he had power to give life into the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast shall be killed, or deleted, or removed. So if you don't comply, to these, there's a consequence, such as stated, man. 16. And he calls all both small, great, rich, and poor. These are all denominations of background of people from rich, poor, middle class, which is no middle class because there's only rich or poor. Middle class has been exiled a long time ago. So whether it's small, great, rich, poor, free or bond, homeless, whatever denomination, all people on earth, all kinds, all kindreds on earth, man. None are going to be exempt relating to this specific thing. Let me read it again. He calls it all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So it's going to actually be a physical mark. Charagma, mark. Charax is a tool, instrument, palisade, stake, something that's going to be punctured into the skin, a device used so they can to put in something into the skin, bud. And that no man might buy or sell, say that had the mark in the name of the beast or the number of his name. So if you don't have this specific thing, you're not going to be able to participate or function normally in society, man, without this certain particular device or thing that's going to be needed, man. You're not going to be able to participate normally in society, man, without pretty much complying to this, man. 17. And that no man might buy or sell or say thee had the mark in the number of the beast and the number of his name. So you're not going to be, like I said, you're not going to be able to buy, sell, or pretty much function normally in society without participating in this. There's going to come a day where it's going to be aggressively, even forcefully enforced, mandatory, man, or mandatorily enforced, man. You know what I mean? All gonna have to get on board to, and do, man. Or, like I said, or be a consequence, man. So right now you have people, different countries, Sweden, different countries that participate, optional right now. Some are willingly taking it. Some look at it as a form of coolness and convenience, but some have it right now. You see videos with people using it to open their car, to open their house, different things. So some people already have it now. Been had it. But it's going to come a point where it's going to be globally mandatory, man. And here's the wisdom: and let him that have the understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and the number of 603 score 666. Go to Kaze Stigma. Kaze Stigma is pretty much a graphing, pretty much like a barcode. You go like a barcode where you, like at Walmart, you see the barcodes on the products, you scan it, so on that, when you scan it, it tells you what it is, the product is. So the product human code would be pretty much you. So I'll be able to identify the things that's on that specific, relating to what it is, your information, personal, private, different things, medical history, name, date, birth, where you live at, different things, man. You know what I mean? Your financial aspects. So that's what that goes to, man. So that product code is going to be you. You know what I mean? The human being. It's the human product code, man. All right, this was just something quick relating to that. So this specific thing is an actual physical mark, a physical mark. It's going to be inserted or injected into the right hand, the left hand, or the forehead, as it states, man. So it's a physical mark. We go to Revelations, talk about the consequences of pretty much taking that, man. We want to get this, Leviticus 28. Ye shall not make any cutting in the flesh for the dead. For that, for example, tattoos, remembering, showing homage or respect for the dead, for example. Some people get tattoos of their families, going to like honor their grandmother or relatives that passed on. So no cuttings in the flesh, man. I'm going to read that again. And ye shall not make any cuttings in the flesh for the dead. That grows to, what's that word, requiem, or in remembrance of, nor print any marks upon you, for I am the Lord. And really, for that reason is because your temple, that's how your temple's holy, is sacred, man. When you mark in your temple, it's like you're like graffiti or tagging on the walls, man, on these buildings, man. So you're building the edifice. You're the human edifice, man. So when you mark your body, you're desecrating it, man, with that graffiti, man. You know what I mean? So putting that tattoo on you is like putting graffiti on your body, man. Just like that video where all the guys had that marks all over their neck. You're desecrating your temple, man. You know, putting all the marks and stuff. And them marks have ink. That ink has poisons, man. You go into that. So it's not good for you, man. You know, but that's another lesson. But the point is, you don't mark your temple, man, because that, to the Lord, that's a sacred vessel, sacred edifice or building. So that's very sacred to the Lord, man. 19 and 28, you know. So no tattoos, man, you know. We break that through different things, needles, different things, you know. But from a scriptural aspect, that's what it is. That's what the scripture says. So taking that karox, which is that insertion or needle, would be go against 19 and 28. Right? This was something short relating to that money thing, money video relating to the FedNow trials. So that's what that relates to. Hope this helps, whoever listens. Let me get Revelations real quick, since I quoted it. I'll read it real fast. 9 and 11. And the third angel followed them, saying in a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and the image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, he shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Lord, which is his indignation, that righteous anger, which is poured out without mixture. So it's pure rageful anger. So that's pure rage, man. No mixture in it, man. Read that again. And the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, which is that righteous anger. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the Lord, of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. That's the fire on earth, man. That altar being burned on earth, man, which is the fire on earth, the altar. And the sacrifices that are going to be on that altar, offering sacrifices, are the ones who's going to be burning that altar on earth, man. It's like that. Human sacrifices, in a matter of speaking. Number 11. And the smoke of their torment is sending up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast in his image, and who sort of receive his mark. So that's the consequence if you receive that, man. And these are we going incremental stepping stones that ultimately is going to lead to a specific, man, relating to Revelations, man. So that's what that goes to. This is just precursors. I want to give all praise, Yahweh Shem Yoshua Bashim Rakakadash. Honors elders, apostles, men in truth on down, regarding truth and knowledge. And Thawadi Yahweh Shem shall put his spirit on those apostles, men in truth on down, laying this truth and knowledge, and call Yahweh Shem Yoshua Bashim Rakakadash. Zayah Wolf. Hope it helps. Shalom.